Hi, if you're watching this video, you're watching the last video on body systems. In this video, we'll be talking about urinary systems. So this system will be focusing on a system that involves waste removal. It focuses on waste removal. And we've talked about different types of wastes that our body produces. This is just one of them. This is another system that deals with one of them. So you're going to probably need to know about the kidney, the ureter, the bladder, as well as the urethra. And so there's only four big organs that you need to know, and we're not going to go into the complexities of how the kidney does it, but it's good to know that the kidney does what it does to keep your blood clean. So, as we know, our bodies make waste. Our digestive system makes feces, or commonly called poo. Our respiratory system removes carbon dioxide, or CO2. Is there a third type of waste? Well, you should probably have already come to the conclusion that the third type of waste is urine, commonly called pee, but we'll use the word urine because it's more adult. The purpose of the urinary system is to filter and remove urine from our blood. So what happens is that you can see there's a large sort of artery here and a large vein here. Basically what happens is the blood will move to the kidney and all the waste will be pulled out. All the waste will be pulled out, right? And then the blood will then flow right back out. And as that waste is pulled out, it's collected and drawn into the ureters and held into the bladder. And that's basically it. That's basically the urinary system, right? So we're going to talk about it in a little bit more detail from there, but all it is blood goes into the kidneys, waste is pulled out of it by the kidneys, and then it flows down the ureter into the bladder, and then the urethra basically is the channel or the tube that pee will leave through. So, major organ, the kidney. Its job is to filter the blood and remove wastes. So, blood moves in, it goes through this complex thing. I'm not going to tell you what it is, you don't need to know it. Goes through all that stuff, gets all the gross stuff out, all that waste out, goes into the veins and leaves. Right? And all that waste is collected in the kidneys. In the kidneys. And then they're dropped out through the ureter. So this is why kidneys are so important, right? If you lose your kidneys, your body can't filter out the wastes in your blood. Now, your liver does some of that, does quite a bit of it, but your kidney's main job is to do that. And so if you lose a kidney, yeah, you're relatively fine, but that kidney needs to work twice as hard. There are cases where people have lost both kidneys, and the biggest issue is that their blood is slowly building up waste. It's slowly building up, essentially, pee in the blood. And pee in the blood is very bad. Urine in the blood is very, very bad. It can lead to infection, it can lead to sepsis, it can lead to death. And so your kidney's job is to make sure your blood stays clean. And so people without kidneys have to go to a machine called a dialysis machine. And basically it takes their blood and filters it for them. And it takes quite a while to filter all that blood. And you have to keep going to that machine over and over again because your body's constantly making waste. We're constantly breathing out. Our body's constantly making poop, and our bodies are constantly making pee. And then when it's ready, when we're full up on poop, we poop. When our body's full up on pee, we urinate. When our lungs are filled with CO2, we breathe out. And so that's why your urinary system is so important. So the kidney has a lot of blood vessels in it. And waste from these vessels move from the blood into the kidney. So again, to repeat, blood moves in, and it actually kind of looks like this. The blood vessels will then branch out and basically look like this weird whirly roller coaster as waste is pulled out. Waste and many times water is pulled out from the blood. And then it comes back together and leaves. The reason why it's so complex and so whirly looking is to increase surface area. The blood vessel wants to touch this part of the kidney as much as possible because then the kidney can remove as much waste as possible because if any part of the blood vessel isn't touching the kidney, this is called a glomeruli, but this part of the kidney, then the kidney can't take the waste out. And so to be efficient, to be effective, the blood vessels need to basically branch out and whirl around so that they can touch as much of the kidney as possible and allow the kidney to take the waste out of the blood, waste out of the blood. Yeah. So this waste is then carried through ureters and lead to the bladder. So as the blood is being cleaned and the waste is being collected, it sort of drains out the special tube called a ureter, and the ureter just sort of sends it into the bladder. And that's it. The ureter's job is a big tunnel, a big channel, a big transport, so that you can send your waste, your pee, into your bladder. The bladder is made up of smooth muscle, right? The bladder is made up of smooth muscle. Its job is to hold urine or pee, hold urine until it's time to pee or urinate, right? So as it fills up, urine is inside your bladder, and when it's full, it reaches a stretch point, and when it's stretched out enough, it sends a signal through your nerves, just like our last lesson, through your nerves, and those nerves send a signal straight to your brain. Your brain goes, time to pee, I need to pee. And so when you are ready to pee, when you're at a urinal or at a toilet, the brain will then send a signal to the bladder to basically squeeze, right? To basically squeeze and push that pee right out, right? And it'll go through the urethra, which is basically a tunnel that pee exits from. This video will talk about whether or not you should hold your pee in and the relative dangers of, well, side effects of holding your pee in for far too long. This was relatively short. You really only need to know kidneys, ureter, bladder, urethra. You don't need to know sphincter. You just need to know these guys and this one, right? So kidneys take the blood. The blood gets filtered by the kidneys. The waste, the gross stuff that the blood doesn't want, is taken by the kidneys and put into the ureter. The ureter takes the pee and brings it to the bladder. The bladder then holds on to the pee until it's full. When the bladder's full, it sends a signal, right? And when that signal says, hey, time to pee, your bladder will then squeeze the pee out or the urine out, and you will release down through your urethra your urine, and you will urinate, right? The bladder is made up of smooth muscle. You need to know that. You need to know that you want to increase surface areas. The blood vessels want to increase surface area so that they can pull out as much waste as possible. You need to know the 3 types of waste: feces, carbon dioxide, and urine. And that's basically it. It's a relatively short lesson. So that basically concludes body systems, and hopefully I'll see you next lesson.